Hi, I'm Ruth Molman with the Farmington Hills Historic District Commission, and I'm here with Gary Zurchek, the owner of Auto Solutions, which is located in what was once our airport, Krist-Port, on 13 Mile and Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills. This field was originally just a pasture that was owned by the Bonds, and they used to do all sorts of trick aviation in the fields here until Mr. Bond sold his property to a development company, and it didn't come off. It went back to him as a farm, and then in 1936 the property was sold to a Christensen, who established an airport called Krist-Port, and they had runways and all sorts of things here, and they had the hangars, and this was the main building and shop for the airport. And I'll turn to Gary now, and he'll tell us what it was like, what the runways and things were like at this airport. You're a pilot, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Apparently back in the 30s, 40s, and early 50s, it was a busy aviation center here. Mr. Christensen actually had a shop, built and sold planes, and it was an airport that was originally set up for air freight transportation. That apparently he must have felt at that time that there was a future in aviation transportation, so he set up an airport here. Operated as such for 20, 25, 30 years, early 50s. Near as we can tell, it was in 55 that Mr. Christensen actually sold the property for the development of the Westbrook subdivision. Talked to a couple of people that had actually flown in and out of this airport when it was operational. There were actually 3 runways, 2 main ones, northeast-southwest and a north-south runway. 2,700 foot long was the longest one, and I believe it was 300 feet wide. Yeah, we've got a diagram. We've also got a couple of old aerial photos of when the airport was here. They built and sold planes here. The governor of Michigan apparently used the airport for his commutes back and forth. I don't know the name of the governor at that point.
It was Sophie Williams, wasn't
it? It probably was. That predates me a little bit. I was born just before the airport closed. There's a tower up on the roof that, from what we understand, was added after the original building was constructed, which was used by civil defense during the Second World War era. They used to watch for incoming enemy aircraft. Observation tower. I've been told that it was manned 24/7 at some point. Wouldn't surprise me. There's a number of full baths in the building, 3 of them to be exact, for roughly about 3,000 square feet of office space in the front end here that I'm sure was used as office space at that point. It was broken up into some different office spaces than what there is currently. It's been remodeled slightly on the inside, but there were 3 full baths in the place, and I suspect that either transient pilots or people that were manning the tower used them frequently back then.
What kind of planes were they using here then?
They were still flying biplanes. For that matter, one of the aerial photographs that we've seen from 1949 shows a number of biplanes that are parked around the hangars and on the airstrip here while it was still up and running. Like I was indicating, a 2,700 foot runway is a fairly substantial runway. I suspect with 2 of them in the 2,700 foot range out of the 3 that were shown as active fields anyway, those airstrips or landing strips would still service small single engine aircraft today if they were in service right now. Light twins would still be able to get in and out, certainly not jets. They wouldn't be able to handle a 2,700 foot runway. They need more length than that. But had it not turned into a subdivision, that same airfield today would still be able to service single-engine aircraft. People could come and go. Dirt fields obviously are a lot less comfortable than what paved runways are, but there are still a number of dirt fields in service in the state of Michigan that a lot of people use day in and day out.
And they had the Cessnas and the Eurocoupe. I never heard of that one.
Eurocoup I'm not familiar with. Cessna obviously is still around today. Stearmans were another brand of plane that I've been told were flown in and out of here. They were a biplane.
Do they use biplanes now at all?
No, they're more like classic cars nowadays. There's collectors and aficionados that love the old biplanes and still keep them. There's some stunt planes that are still manufactured today, generally experimental aircraft that guys like to play with.
They tried to recreate Kitty Hawk and couldn't do it. I remember that.
Yeah.
This last year. The president was there and everything, and the plane wouldn't go.
Would not fly. Would not fly.
Well, it's interesting. Where we're sitting now was with Mr. Christensen's home. He actually lived up here. That room was with the bedroom, and we're in the living room.
Yep, and there was a kitchen in this office space next door right now. And we actually took the building over, which was 1994. And it's been operated as a body shop here since 1978. Probably continue that way for right now. We've done some fix-up and cleanup on the place, but the basic structure is still in the same condition that it was when it was built back in the 30s.
Well, down in the downstairs bathroom, you can see the 1930s tiles that show what it was like then. And they had an idea of something that was really would have been fantastic, to have had houses around where everybody had their own airplanes, and then the companies would have been able to fly out their own materials from here. But that didn't work out, I guess. Things change, and I guess airplanes got bigger. It's probably...
Yeah, that was a part of it.
I ran into a lady whose stepfather had used to come over to the airport, and they would. There's a number of little airports around, and he would come over, meet his friends, and then they'd take off for lunch to one of the other airports within the city. I understand there was an airport somewhere near Botsford also.
I hadn't heard of that one.
Yeah, there were, I don't know how many little airports were all over here. Now you fly out of Pontiac
yeah.
now. That's the one that's left.
Yep.
They turned them all into subdivisions. But the idea of having your own hangar and your own airplane sounds terrific. I guess Henry Ford had that idea originally. It was when they were still doing jumping out of airplanes. He wanted the flivvers, were like the Model Ts. And I guess he lost somebody into the river. He was trying to fly from New York to Miami. Have you heard about the, I don't know if they do it anymore, they put a matchstick to keep the to keep the gasoline from getting full of water. That's what killed Harry Brooks, I understand. He was a Ford test pilot.
Oh, they don't test the gasoline that way anymore. They've actually got a little drain cock in the bottom of the tanks that you draw a sample off of before you start up and take off.
That would have been a lot safer.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
But it got into his line. They never found him. They found the plane. Never found him. He was from Southfield, and he learned to fly. That's why I knew about the, there was an article that said he flew out of the airport he learned to fly out of the airport near Botsford Inn. I don't know exactly where that was, but whether it was the Southfield side or the Farmington side.
Based on some of the old sectionals that I've seen some pictures of off the internet, it doesn't show a field over at Botsford. It shows the field here at Krist-Port, and that was back in the 40s and 50s that the sectionals actually had Krist-Port on it. Those sectionals were usually pretty accurate back then, as they are today. Not seeing one on there, it's possible that there was a private grass strip that wasn't shown on one of the sectionals that someone may have been using to get their own planes in and out of, but this was actually an official airport here.
They could actually fly out of any of the farmland, couldn't they?
Pretty much, yeah. You didn't need much distance to get the old biplanes off the ground. A 2,700-foot field, I suspect, was probably pretty substantial runway for them back at that point.
You know, I asked you what happened to the landing strips. I was expecting somebody had to dig up asphalt.
Nope, they were all grass, all dirt runways.
Wow, wouldn't that be kind of bumpy coming in?
I'm sure it would be. Far different than concrete or asphalt. Far different.
And so it's too bad that the idea of your own private plane didn't work. I guess Henry Ford chopped up his flivvers.
Wouldn't surprise me if he lost a friend. Yeah, it could be tempting for sure.
The gentleman had a lot of temper, I guess, with these things. Well, and also, I think it's interesting, the little, I thought it was an airplane tower on the top, but it was civil defense. And it isn't really so as far-fetched as it seems. I was reading about the bombs, the little bombs that they had from Japan that came over here. And it was during World War II. And they never publicized them because they didn't want to let anybody know they landed, but we had a few of them that landed.
Wow.
And there was one actually on Gill Road in Farmington, and there was a police report on it. And there was a little flash fire, and it was in the garden, and it just went out. And then they found this thing, and the only real damage that was done were some children found it. I guess it was in Oregon. And they pulled this thing out, and it exploded on them and killed them.
Hmm.
But they didn't have the airplanes to deliver them, so you wonder. It seems far-fetched that they would be looking for planes here, but I guess the planes were possible, and why they had the civil defense. What is it? The Ground Observers Corps.
That was it. Farmington Area Ground Observation Corps post.
You know, there was a man that we did interview on one of our interviews, Mr. Burke. He said his wife Rita was very devoted to this thing, and she made it a point during the whole Cold War to be up there looking for planes.
I suppose, fortunately for all of us, we've got dedicated citizens like that.
You know, didn't land. That's a neat little tower. I noticed you could see back onto the roof of one of your hangar. You get the feeling of the hangar from up there.
Yeah, the type of trusses that they used in construction back then were referred to as a bow truss. Still one of the strongest engineering trusses that are available today, just not used more because of the aesthetics, but that's still the roof that was originally used on the building here. Still holding up today, and I'm told as long as we continue to do the maintenance on it, it'll outlive me, which is not that big a deal, but it should continue on for a while.
Well, they have the construction of this building is interesting. It's all cinder block, it looks like.
Yeah, masonry and concrete floors, but basically everything was all block at that time.
You know, it seems to have survived pretty well. And
Very well, actually. Very well.
I noticed the hangars to the side. I don't know if they put brick on them or they're all or cinder block also.
They've been remodeled. I believe they were frame construction on the outsides. It was back in the 60s when I first moved into the Farmington Hills area, and I actually had a job when Ace Hardware was still next door, prior to them moving into the building on the north side of 13 Mile. And there were still dirt floors in the hangars next door back in 64, 65. They were using them as warehouse for the Ace Hardware that was there at that point in time. But it was obvious that they were still dirt floor hangars, and as I recall, they were frame construction. They were not masonry construction like we've got here.
Well, it's a fascinating history that we have here, and I feel bad that we don't have little airplanes that we could take out of the garage.
Yeah, it's not the way that it's gone, but may become more practical as fuel costs go up.
Have your airplane instead of a car?
Sure, cut some distance out of it.
You know, of course, they had gliders to start with. Maybe they could glide with these things. As a pilot, can you control it if it's gliding?
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, might be a solution.
Possibilities.
Of course, the trouble with an airplane, if it comes down, you don't park at the side of the road.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Very unforgiving. Accidents in planes are not a good thing.
Can we go take a look at the little tower up there? And
Certainly, certainly.
Okay.
Be glad to show you around.
So this is the tower.
This is the tower, the observation tower.
And you always had a stairway. It looks like it could have been a ladder once upon a time.
It may have been at one time. Since we've been here, it's always had the stairs, but they're very steep, and you got to duck your head to get up underneath them.
Well, I don't, but you do.
I do.
Well, we could see all over Farmington. We could see all the way to Bloomfield Hills.
Yeah, in the clearer days, you can, if there weren't treetops in the way, you could see just about down to Pontiac Trail. And certainly on most days, we can see the expressway signs in 696 southbound from here. From what I understand, this is supposed to be one of the highest land elevation points in Farmington Hills.
And you have the roof of your hangar here. You get the real feeling of what it was like.
Yeah, again, that was the bow truss style that they used back in the 30s, and again, it's indicative of what some of the architecture looked like back then, as well as some of the tiles that we've still got in the bath areas.
And it's wonderful that they've been able to recycle these buildings that are the hangars and use them in our community.
This is definitely one of the oldest ones here, that's for sure.
And the little shed over here, you've got a nice fancy looking car wash instead of the little shed.
Yeah, they had a garage that was over there for a number of years. It got pretty dilapidated before we actually took ownership over. And the city preferred that we got rid of it, so we did, and added the car wash a few years back.
Well, it makes it lovely, nice brick car wash, and all the wonderful things you can do for people's cars here.
Yeah.
To get service on cars is hard too.
Yeah, it's been an automotive center now for better than 20 years. 1978 is when it first went automotive.
Well, thank you for sharing this with us, and Farmington will learn about something that was here.
Been my pleasure.
It's too bad we don't still have an airport. It would be nice.
It'd be a lot of fun to be able to fly in and out of my own airfield.
Yes, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.